And I was trying a little clock thing, going countdown from 60 seconds. But the problem with that is that the thumbnail for the clock looks really boring. Like every time my thumbnail shows up anywhere where anybody might care, might give a rip about hearing the fear-free life message, then the thing of it is you have to watch 30 seconds of really pretty colors telling you I'm coming on, or maybe 60 seconds, but it's not a super great thumbnail. So I bagged the thumbnail at least today, and I'm here for the most powerful 15 minutes of your day. Yes, yes, it actually is. You know what you may feel based on something terrible that happens to you, and that adrenaline that gets kicked off to alert you that you may be in danger and that your body is going into overdrive to save you, that may be a very powerful moment. And you may have actually begun to feel that or had a real negative or a brainwash. Did you get a brainwash of negative chemicals this morning, checking the news, checking to see what the info is, or getting up and just sort of checking to see, are you okay? Well, those are powerful experiences, but we're here to learn about fear-free living. And that's where you understand the greater power that you have, the greater authority that you have to change what your body does, to change what your brain believes, to change the paradigm out of which you function. I was saying to someone earlier in about the last week or so, one of my least favorite questions to be asked is, how are you? I'm not sure I like that question at all. I have a stock answer that I whip out to get the ball rolling, to keep me in reality, to keep me in peace, to keep me in truth. And I flip it out because it always gets a smile. It always gets a little laugh. It always catches people off guard. So I rarely, if ever, answer the question, how am I, with the inventory of my emotions, my feelings, my circumstances. And I want you to consider what it's like when someone asks you how you are, or what it's like when you first get up in the morning and you're very aware of your first conscious moments, and you're analyzing on a very deep level threat response. Did you know that we tend to function constantly from threat response? Why? Because I teach you here on Fear Free Living that your body is designed to keep you safe. So it's constantly assessing threat response. It's constantly checking the perimeter. But did you know that your body is not hardwired for fear? It's not hardwired for anxiety. It's not hardwired for depression. It's not hardwired for discouragement. It's actually hardwired to keep you safe, to save your energy, to keep your body functions going automatically. It's also hardwired for pleasure. Did you know that you're hardwired for pleasure? You know, your body is predisposed to have an ability to enjoy being you. So if you're not waking up and enjoying being you, that should tell you a lot about what you've wired into your brain through the kinds of experiences you have and what you've come to believe about them. And unfortunately, the question, how are you, tends to send us into a very deeply internalized and self focused reality where we check to see how we feel, how we feel, how our bodies feel. Do we have any aches and pains? Is anybody mad at us? Are we worried about money? Are we worried about our family and kids? What's happening in the government? What's happening in the nation? The question, how are you? I think, in a way, is one of the most unprotective questions to get you into fear free living. I wonder if we could come up with a better way to take a quick assessment and move into the reality that we, as responsible citizens and humans, have the authority to, the responsibility to shepherd our thoughts, because our brain and our body just believes what we do. So, if, my friends, we're looking for the world to give us permission to feel okay based on circumstances, how we slept, if anybody's mad at us, how we feel, we're going to have to wait an awful long time to be able to relax into a positive state of security. Hello, RM Johns. We have to choose to step into security. Did you know that? You have to choose on a daily basis to overcome the question, how are you? and step into the question, ask and answer the confrontation of your day, the taking of your day into, I guess it's how are you, but not how do you feel. I think we interpret the how are you question is how do you feel? Are you allowed to be happy today? Have your circumstances lined up? Is every little thing just okay in your life? Cause, and this is why perhaps it is useful to say fine, 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 fine. We have a few problems with that as well, don't we? We have problems with people asking us, you know, how we are, and then they don't really want to know anyway, or we don't really want to tell them. But if you're like me and somebody asks how I am, I tend to go a little bit more deeply into a self assessment. And usually the self assessment starts with fear, with circumstances, with bodily feelings. Then in the fear free life, you have to jump past all of that into the reality that your emotions, your circumstances, the media, the light, there we go, will not give you easy permission to to be secure, peaceful, and happy. You have to set that as a set point by minding your gray matter, what you choose to hear, listen to, think, believe, and say. And that is powerful because it actually changes the state of your brain. It's not just a nice thing to do. You actually are a product of what you've come to believe. Hello, Faith Hope. You're a product of what you've come to believe and what you rewire and reinforce on a daily basis. So the question of how you answer that ubiquitous, how are you, is very, very important. And maybe we should come up with a better way. Dave Ramsey says, better than I deserve. I'm not sure I like that one. It sounds like he doesn't think that it's okay for him, that he deserves to be at peace and happy. Maybe, here's, better, I'm scareder than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. How's that for an anxious response? I think we need to think about when somebody says, how are you? We need to think about the state we're setting. What state do I choose to set? Because the are you part of it is the deeper question of being afraid, of being in a fear state. And what I'm teaching you here is that you have the responsibility to train yourself, your brain and your body to not be in a fear state. So the are you, how are you is, I have a friend who answers that question, blessed and highly favored of the Lord. How are you? Whoa, that's like turbocharged. And that's important. Why does it matter? It matters because first of all, you're taking control of the landscape, the atmosphere. You're putting important wiring into your brain. You're setting the tone for your conversation, and you're moving out of a subjective point of view and an inventory that you might take of circumstances, bodies, feelings, sleep, relationships, into the authority of the truth about who you are, right? And it's a small little thing, but you need to know. I want you to try this out this week, especially as we step into Thanksgiving. We can say, I'm great. How are you? Yeah, that's the one. I love that. The how are you? I always go, fine. How are you? Good. How are you? But I want you to think ever even better, I hope. Yes. The thing of it is we need to think about the power of that simple shift in a daily basis. That one question, uh, yeah, it does. Faith, hope, and love. That's right. We have to understand our authority. And I know some of us have some of those threatening things where I had to learn to tell it to take authority in the spirit over the demonic powers and the stuff going on, and basically say you're not allowed, and my angels are bigger than your demons. Hello. And then dealing with my thoughts are bigger than my fears. My God thoughts are bigger than my fears. So yes, but you actually can shift from training your brain into I'm being stalked into you need to be afraid of me. Good morning, Grammy fam. I'm the dangerous one in this room. I'm the one who's a threat to darkness. I'm the one who's taking my day. I'm the one who's trampling on serpents and scorpions. I'm the one who has all the authority. So if anybody's going to run this day, it's going to be Jesus and me. Okay? That's how it's going to go. Let me just tell you how it's going to go. So Yeah, we do. We take the thoughts captive, and the important thing is to replace them instantly. Wow, this light is so weird in here. Sorry, guys. Instantly, instantly, with the power thought of reality from heaven. And so this week, as people, as you were considering thankfulness and thanksgiving and who we are, one of the key takeaways is this idea of the how are we? How are we? How am I? Don't ask the world for permission to be okay. Don't ask your emotions for permission to be okay and safe. Don't ask your friends for permission to be okay and safe. I have this little habit of getting up and checking, on my device, what's happening? What's going on? And it rarely really gives me a pat on the back and permission to be happy, secure, and encouraged. So who does that? So who decides? So who decides what state your brain is going to start out in? Who decides how your brain is going to learn new information every single time you meet someone who says, "Hi, how are you?" That's an opportunity on a daily basis to tell your brain what you're going to believe and think about who you are and how you are. Who you are and how you are. And I challenge you to come up with a power statement to say, "I'm blessed and highly favored. I rock. I trample on serpents and scorpions. I'm all that in a bag of chips. I'm secure and happy and peaceful. How are you? I'm totally and completely loved 100% of the time." Sometimes I'm out in the store and I want to engage with a clerk. I'll say to them something like, "Hey, you want to know something really cool?" They'll go, "What?" And I'll go, "Did you know that I walk around 24/7 aware of just how much God loves me unconditionally? I mean, all the time." And they'll say, "What? That's cool." And I go, "Did you know you can walk around 24/7? I mean, aware that you are loved unconditionally by God all the time? Imagine how that would change your life if you said that, if you knew that." And then sometimes I'll say, "Because Jesus died on that cross for you." And that's a statement of your worth and value. That's how much you're worth. Do you know how much he loves you? See, when you use power words and power thoughts, and you take that little slice of opportunity, well, how are you? "I'm incredible. I'm full of faith. I'm walking with God. I overcome. I'm an overcomer. The enemy's scared of me. Everywhere I go, I bring heaven. I'm fabulous." And when you are in a state of depression or warfare, it needs to come out of your mouth like you mean it. Like, "Don't mess with me. I mean it big time. I mean it so big time, I'm going to say it twice. I might even say it 3 times." And we don't realize now that science is supporting the reality that somebody is telling your brain what to believe at all times. Somebody and something is always telling your brain what what to wire, what to think, what to believe. Somebody's going to control the atmosphere everywhere you go. Somebody's going to do it. Someone or something is going to control the atmosphere and give your brain messages about truth and reality. And I'm suggesting that it ought to be you. And it ought to be me. I'm suggesting that we ought to take that ground. And from a neuroplastic point of view, that simple question, "How are you? How's your family? How's work?" So powerful. I had a friend who had some bad news to tell me. And he said his aunt, when he was updating, he said, he put it this way: "Opportunities for breakthrough abound." It sucked. The situation kind of sucked. And "So how's it going with so and so?" "Opportunities for breakthrough abound." Do you know how he changed his brain in that moment? Do you know how he changed the atmosphere in that moment? Do you know how he basically reframed everything? And I know it's simple, but fear free living is about taking care of business, one neural programming, thought rewiring experience at a time. And I stood up to him and I got the price changed. Hello, faith, hope, and love. That's awesome. So it may seem simple, but I just taught a whole class in my deep dive 10-week program on multidimensional mastery, which I talk about in this video here, right here. Watch the Dream Farm right there. You should be able to see a free 45-minute webinar targeted toward a certain type of people who need to get free professionals who are in burnout very often because of deep neural wiring of self-sabotage, fear, procrastination, and anxiety, big drains to the creative soul. So you're welcome to get that free webinar and watch it. And if you're interested in my classes, there's a whole mechanism by which you can kind of inquire about that, even book a time with me. But today I was teaching the class on one of my favorite sessions, which is minding the gray matter and what happens in the brain and why we're not just whistling in the dark, why we're not just being little Mary Sunshine and trying to be happy in the midst of doomsday. Why we decide what our brain thinks, and it will support us into freedom or fear. We get to choose. We choose that. We choose that. We govern that. And uh, uh, it's now a scientific fact that you can rewire your brain. Yeah, this is the barn at Dream Farm. And by the way, if you want to know what I've done with Fear Free Living, you can go to dreamfarmradio.org. And I am getting ready to launch my 11th season of Dream Farm Radio, which is a nationally syndicated radio show heard in a number of NPR type stations across the country. And right here in this barn, musicians from all over the world have come to play their um, original compositions in synergy jazz, which means jazz plays nice in the sandbox with rock. It plays nice in the sandbox with roll. It plays nice in the sandbox with so many things, and it gives a dimension. It plays nice in the sandbox with pop and Latin music and classical music and ethnic music. Jazz will heal your brain. So I have 11 seasons going on of Dream Farm Radio, and guess what? It was because the Lord told me that if I would begin to give away what I wanted, He'd heal me. And the thing He wanted me to give away was to turn this barn into a performance space and to give a space for others to perform when I was paralyzed by stage fright. To give others a safe place to perform as He set me free to perform. That's where Dream Farm Radio came from. That was one of the most biggest things that I ever did when I began to conquer paralyzing fear, stage fright, anxiety, trauma, right? Right? So, right downstairs in this barn, over and over and over again, I faced paralyzing stage fright to learn a new way to do it, a new way to perform, a new way to be. Now, I'll tell you, stage fright is one of those things called a social anxiety. So, where people absolutely shut down, panic, forget where they're going, standing in front of people, afraid of being shamed. Oh, yeah, that and oh, so much more. I experienced all that. If I can learn to overcome that into a place of confidence and peace, even in the midst of some stuff going off when I'm performing, you can learn to know who you are and how you are from a position of safety and security. You learn to be afraid, you can learn to be free. And this barn and Dream Farm Radio are proof of concept. So, my friends, and by the way, it's interesting. People might be fine for a certain period of time and then have a strange fear or behavior, very life limiting behaviors show up later in life. And we go, I never knew that was, like you said, Faith Hope, social anxiety, but it didn't used to be that way. It's because there's stuff now that has space to be triggered and come to the surface. And that is your opportunity to overcome yet again. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. You learn to be afraid, you can learn to be free. So I will see you tomorrow. And of course, we'll take Thursday off because we have a lot of thanking to do. And I'm not sure about Friday yet. But in the meantime, you have your marching orders. And I will see you again tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern.